to be a difficult one the next number of days. To get any points at the finish is not going to be possible, so there's a lot at play here for a lot of riders, not only the GC men. There's the stage, there's other jerseys here in the play, so it's going to be an interesting final. And Mats Pedersen will be really happy as long as they keep on rolling through here, keep the speed high. The moment you start looking around, start slowing up, that's the time riders will try and go in the attack, and then it gets very complicated to hold everybody together and get it down to a sprint.
This has to be one of the fastest Paris stages in recent years. Average is well above 47 kilometers per hour for a stage over 200 kilometers. Riding to Berleton. If you've ever flown over Marseille, you'll pass the city and then you'll see this huge sort of lake behind. Right down in Provence, and this is where we are. Plenty of wildlife areas and wetlands. It's beautiful on a nice sunny day. And down here you get more sunny days than days like this, certainly. It's atypical for a very much atypical Paris stage of the good sort. Certainly where we're sitting in a nice comfortable commentary box. What a day's racing. There's Skjelmose on the right. Now Vlipovic in the same position. Jorgensen on the left just come through to take their turns. 50 kilometers per hour still into the final 5 kilometers or so. There's Josh Tarling behind as well. When do the fun and games start for the stage? How can they stop?
Well, that's when you look at 50 kilometers per hour after what they've been doing all day today. It's a difficult one for anybody to try and go from a longer way out alone. They're going to wait until the very final and see can they take a lot of the riders here in this leading group by a surprise. But as long as we're traveling at 60 kilometers per hour, it's going to be a major difficult one for anybody taking advantage that they could possibly go on and get the stage win. So coming to 5 kilometers to go, it's looking like playing into the hands of the faster men for the moment.
And Ineos Grenadiers, with plenty of bodies in there, of course had a fantastic result and record down at this race, didn't they? Last time they won a stage though, Sean, 2018, believe it or not. The final day, David de la Cruz. As we get our first little bit of hang on into this corner, foot off the gas. You imagine that Campenaerts want to just keep it nice and high here though. That's what he'll do. 4.5 Ks to go. Job done for everybody in the GC here. Unless there's some major shake-up in what we might or might not get tomorrow, given the stage and what's to come and how it must be snowing very, very hard up in Oran today. We've already had notice that the stage was due to change anyway. Colmian taken out. Oran, the only major climb in the stage that remains. It'll only be 109 kilometers. But you're probably looking at the podium of Paris-Nice unless something changes majorly in this group. Four Ks to the line for the stage win. A reminder too that whoever's involved in the mix-up there, GC involved as well, because there's 10, 6 and 4 bonus seconds too. Here's the favourite for this stage, should it remain like this. Mats Pedersen. Mess, by the way, has allowed our cameras to follow him. There's some interesting footage coming in the next few weeks and months from that. 3.5 Ks to go. Gap at 147, still growing. Still only going one way. No fun and games yet, Sean. And again, look at that speed. It's hard for it to happen. It's almost 60 Ks an hour still.
Yes, well, it's very difficult for anybody to try and, go as alone here at a number of kilometres out. And it's an interesting one that all these teams are continuing on. Of course, Visma Lease bike as well. They have Zingler there, so it's playing good for them because they can try and get a stage win here with him, and of course the other fast men as you mentioned, and maybe the team of Ineos Grenadiers, maybe they think as well that they can take the stage win in a sprint here, so it looks like it's going to go possibly down to a sprint, but little gaps appearing at the moment.
Yeah, Zingle, who moved over the winter to Visma Lease bike, yet to win a World Tour race. This would be a real step up for him. This is Per Strandhagen continuing to pull things along at the front. Just behind him, Tobias Foss. Then Eduardo Alfini keeping the pace high. Jorgensen, team leader, sitting down at the back. Just 2.3 Ks to the finish now. The twists and turns on the way in are very interesting, aren't they, Sean?
Yes, there is quite a few, twists and turns, and inside the final kilometre there's a bit of a chicane there. Probably with about 600 metres to go, and it's a one, not a one on the race manual, or it be like to see when you're a rider there. You have to get it right here, and with these roads, as we can see, another roundabout here. It's not a nice running at all in these wet, horrible conditions.
One more roundabout to go before we get to the Flamme Rouge. That'll be one to take on towards the right, passage on the left side. And then that one that you said, it's almost like a chicane. I tell you what, I'm glad we haven't got a massive group coming in here, because you and I looked at the menu this morning and it was head in hand straight away. What might happen here?
Yes, and in the conditions we've got, these wet roads, it would not be a nice one for a bunch sprint at all. But again, the way they're going, you can see 50 kilometers per hour as they go into those roundabouts. And as we get to the finish, there's always going to be somebody, might try and go for a bit of a longer one, and you're going to come into that chicane there at high speeds.
Time to close those gaps towards the back here, because we're approaching the Flamme Rouge. It's just ahead. Just over 1 kilometre remains in what has been a Paris-Nice stage to remember. Pouring down with rain. We can only just about see it as we've now got to move on the left-hand side. I think Max Schachmann's going to go for it. 1 kilometre to go, and Max Schachmann has taken off. Bob Jungels is now at the gain towards the back. Ineos are chasing this move by Schachmann down, though. It's Foss who's on the front trying to do that. Waiting and ready are the riders from all sorts of teams here. I'm looking around and Pedersen's down in 6th position. 650 metres to go. We're waiting for that chicane. It'll go to the left. It'll dart to the right. Here's the first of those movements. You can see Tarling coming up on the outside. Taking it on the inside there is Pedersen, who's ready. It's Schachmann there in the black. Tarling behind in the red. Then you can see Zingle, who's waiting on the wheel of the Welsh time trial superstar. On the right-hand side, they're going to what will be the final straight now. And at the end of a big, big day in Paris-Nice, it's time to sprint it out for the win and the stage. Schachmann still leading this one out, and now Pedersen will go. This should be his opportunity, but it's one of those atypical sprints because Tarling is there on his wheel. He's trying to get around him. Pedersen's still going for it, but Josh Tarling is trying to get around and beat him at his own game. It's Pedersen there, just about hanging onto the line, and Mess Pedersen had to fight for it all the way, but finally on day 6, in amongst all the chaos, bad weather and big happenings, Mads Pedersen wins a stage at Paris-Nice. And now we count time to the rest. What a way to end a quite magnificent stage. Hat off there behind, you can see from Pedersen to Tarling. Zingle down in 3rd position. Mess Pedersen wins the stage. Lidl Trek have victory. And they have their GC man Skjelmose up there on the podium as it stands, sitting just behind Lipovic and sitting behind the leader, who is even more the leader now, Matteo Jorgensen.
Yes, well, we could see Pedersen there. He was a bit further off, at about 700 metres to go. Then as we came into that final chicane, he moved up and into that final corner in 2nd position. It was the perfect place to be, and when he launched his sprint, he was quite a bit out, so to get to the line, it was a long one, and we could see there he had just to fight all the way to get his stage victory.
Tarling with that big fight there as well. I think Watson might have just got in front there, chasing him behind. We'll have to see. This is the group that's heading to the finale now, looking for placings. What can they get? Led by Tejada here. Champoussin's not too far behind. They're weary, they are tired. In the meantime, Lidl are celebrating at the back. But look at this, it's going to be ticking on towards 2 minutes. A disaster in the general classification for many. Sprinting for places for those behind. Turgis isn't far away. 1:54. And that's to the first chasing group. Many a GC challenge has collapsed here. Tim Medlier coming in the second chasing group. At one stage it was all set up for him. Halfway through the stage they'd have been laughing. One rider left to chase, they were in control, and then all havoc broke loose. What a final 60 Ks. And we won't forget these in a hurry. Walscheid, Matthews, Medlier over in this group. One to forget for them. 2:37 down. There'll be one man smiling in here, in fact two. Lidl Trek rider and Barad Lemon racing for Visma Leasebike. He's done a job today. And Matteo Jorgensen, well, he's not won Paris-Nice yet, but he's got one hand on the jersey again, hasn't he?
Yes, well said. Position now, but again, you know, things can change very quickly. We can see the way the riders are coming in there. There's a lot of riders marked from the conditions we've been through today.
Rémi Cavagna was in the break. There's Yves Lompard. What a shock to the system this will be. I cannot wait to hear the first bits of reaction from riders. Because ever since we saw the images, we were shocked. We have a system, Sean. We always follow the race in the morning. We follow the live tickers. We get updates from the race radio. We were told one thing was happening, and very quickly it wasn't. Just as we introduced the show, we had these images. Something happened on the road, whether it be the wind, over the top of the climb, on the descent, and it completely broke the race. And it just was non-stop to the end.
Yes, I think everybody was expecting it to be, as we were forecasting, you know, it was going to be a day for the sprinters and they would control. And that is this, you know, the danger time. You have to be alert, and when you have the conditions like we have here, if there's a little bit of wind, you know, people be thinking, okay, there's not enough wind really to make an echelon. But if you ride full on, you get, you know, a team in the front and they're joined by another team, like it was the situation out in front, and they really drive on, well then it could be a disastrous day, as it has been for many.
Mess Pedersen wins the stage ahead of Josh Tarling, Sam Watson, Axel Zingli and Matteo Sobrero. Sheffield, Scalemoser, Jorgensen, Schachmann, Arendsman all in the top 10 on the same time. Matteo Jorgensen remains the leader. Yesterday's winner, Martinez, had been looking up. He'd been talking about trying to get up towards the podium at the weekend. Well, he needs a fuga bidone to happen tomorrow, the day after, for that to happen. He needs a miracle, because he is losing over 5 minutes here. They're still on their way into town.
Well, it's over totally. Any place of anything in the GC standings for a rider like Lenny Martinez, it's, you know, it's finished now. And, you know, to get into a breakaway, it's not going to be possible for him, because he's going to be a marked man as we, you know, see the sprint once again. Pedersen kicking off, you know, at the right time, but again, Tarling coming very, very strong. And it looked like he was just going to come over him. If it had been another 5 metres, he would have got his stage victory. But we see Pedersen in the run-in there. He was, you know, in the prime position. And, you know, it's all about experience as well, knowing the run-in as well, you know, having the right information from your director sportif. And when you're in that position, then, well, you have the advantage, and gets his stage victory.
Watson came from a long way back as well there. Just got in front of Zingli for third. Super sprint from Tarling. Certainly considering who's against it. And it surprised even Pedersen. He looked round and gave him the hat off. Brilliant. But Pedersen, well, he deserves something out of this race, had the way he's been riding for his team the last couple of days. And as you say, Sean, he's moving into the green jersey with that victory as well.
And we can see the man in Visma colours there. I think the legs were, hurting there. You could see the way he's sprinting, just not able to get out the saddle, and yeah, pulling faces. The effort he made, and of course he was making a big effort. And it's always difficult to know how much, like Pedersen was putting in. He was going through there, but was he really pushing it on? If he was sitting on, well, then the others would not be happy. So he had to continue on riding. But if you can just spare that little bit all the time with the pulls they're giving on the front, that can mean a lot in the final after such a difficult day.
Over 7 sorry minutes for the Martinez group here. Missing the split, the move, whatever, when it happened. I'm really having to pay for it. And time ticks on.
And of course, Lenny Martinez in the general classification, he's a rider new to that, and experience as well. Maybe lacking a bit of experience. He's a very young guy, and that's where it's important. The rider himself maybe hasn't got it, but you need people around you to be able to almost smell what's happening in the front of the race, and just always see that. And with Carpenats, he's a guy who knows how to ride, and he has that feeling for the race. And if you have somebody like that around you, well, then that's a huge advantage for a leader.
Yep, the ingredients were all there, weren't they, for Visma Lease Bike to do the job they did. And even without Jonas Vingegaard, what a way for them to bounce back here today. Jorgensen very much more in control. He took the bonus seconds at the sprint, so he's extended his lead over his rivals. And the rivals, well, there's nowhere near as many of them now. This is the Martinez group. Riesebeek, Mullen. Lots of stars in here. Sivakov. He'd given his all a bit further up, hadn't he? But one to forget for Lenny Martinez in the centre there. Helped over by Fred Wright and Kamil Gradek. Stefan Kung in this group after that puncture we saw him have as well. It's one to forget. 8 minutes 58 for Lenny Martinez and others who've missed out here. It happens. Even the noise and the screech of brakes is a rather depressing one, isn't it? It's a wonderful, wonderful look to the GC for the new top three. Jorgensen now 40 seconds ahead of Lipovic. 59 in front of Skjelmose. Arensman's up to 4th. Almeida drops to 5th. And at 2:40, massive differences now for a Paris-Nice.